Hi, I'm Edgar, and this is my friend Louis.
Hello, I'm Louis, and this is my friend Edgar. Edgar is extremely brilliant, knowledgeable about issues, thinks deeply, doesn't just follow kind of the dominant ideological trend or issues of the day, but really tries to grapple with the truth. And I think that's something that I very much admire about Edgar.
That's what I'd say about Louis too, actually all of that. I think, the first words out of my mouth would be intelligent. Louis is incredibly intelligent. So I guess this, based on what you were saying about me, I think it's also true of you. This idea of everything can be questioned and it's okay to question everything, and that thinking deeply about something isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. And I would just add that Edgar, even though we disagree a lot and more, I think one of the things that I also love about Edgar is that, our friendship always comes first, We eat dinner, we hang out, we watch movies, and none of that is affected based on the fact that we disagree wildly from time to time. And I really appreciate that about him.
Likewise.
You want it in alphabetical order or chronological, You want us... Oh, everything from the economy to politics to tipping people to right, to the things we read.
Politics and religion, two very uncontroversial subjects, probably. Growing up, I grew up Jewish. I'm from a Jewish household. Went through religious school, on the weekends. Up until when I had my bar mitzvah when I was 13. That's when I started really questioning everything, as Louis and I like to do. And that's when I kind of realized, okay, I don't actually believe in God. But still always had not a negative relationship with religion. I mean, a lot of my family's religious, but on a personal level, pretty much stopped believing in God around 12 and never turned back.
For me, it was actually the exact opposite. I didn't grow up in a religious household at all. My parents were kind of Buddhist, but not really. It was more of a cultural thing. And I was always an atheist because I was what proof is there for God? I was never introduced to it or in any way kind of even considered this possibility. But what happened was my parents sent me to a Christian high school, and a lot of the questions that they raised were here's definitely the science, but does the science really prove that there is no God? And so that's when asking these questions and grappling with it and really annoying my teachers in the process of grappling with it, that's when I kind of came to the conclusion that maybe there just is a God out there who loves all of us and who we are because we're made in the image of God. I remember you saying that there was one point in your life when you actually did genuinely consider the existence of Yahweh.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think I do genuinely consider it. Yeah, still do. Because I think everything should be questioned. And this gets to the part where it's harder to explain. I do believe that there is something greater than just the material reality we live in. I wouldn't consider it God because it's not something I would pray to.
Right.
But I do think it stands to reason that there's something more than just what people know.
It's like the Force from Star Wars, right?
Exactly. It's exactly
it's there's some invisible something out there going on that may the Force be with you.
Right, exactly, and with you, Louis, right?
But actually, we have talked about this, and one of the things that both I and another one of my friends, we mentioned that what's the point of worshiping a God that you create, or that you are your own God? There's not much hope for humanity if the best that we have is me or you. That's not going to be great. And so it's kind of we make our own God, and one thing that we kind of yearn for is something that's greater than ourselves. There's a hole in our hearts for that.
Yeah, I think there's room for a higher power. That doesn't need to be something you call God. I think there's definitely room for that. I think Jesus was probably a person who existed. Yeah, I don't think he was divine, or not any more divine than any other person, I think. Actually, so Alan Watts, I don't know if we've talked about Alan Watts before. He has a fantastic piece on Jesus. Check out Alan Watts on Jesus. But no, what he talks about is that you don't have to be divine. You don't have to have any special powers to say important things, which I think is true.
I guess that is true. Like Gandhi, Martin Luther King. We can.
So the idea of tying it back to Jesus, saying oh yeah, Jesus was able to say what he was because it was divinely inspired. Yeah. That's the part where it's I don't think there's evidence for that.
Well, and we disagree about this wildly, right? I think if you look, I think a kind of objective view of the evidence. So you look at the testimonial evidence, you look at people who willingly got themselves persecuted and fed to lions and crucified because they saw the resurrected Christ. I think if you and we have evidence of that from Trajan's rescripts, from Roman sources. I think we know that there was, and if you balance historical sources and you go well, we know there was a Pontius Pilate, we know there was a Paul, and if you look at that, I think there's real historical support for the resurrection and for the fact that people saw this, testimonial evidence.
I think what we can take away from those sources is that there were people who believed.
Right.
I don't think we can take away that their beliefs were correct.
Really? But okay, now we get to the part where we really disagree.
Yeah.
Because, if you have a courtroom and you have 4,000 witnesses that lines up and say, I saw this, and then witness 2 says, I saw this, and witness 3. If that's not enough, if that doesn't satisfy beyond, you do mock trial, if that doesn't satisfy beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, and that's the part that
you would never be able to have another case.
That's the part that I don't think we have the historical record of.
Why don't you?
all these people actually witnessing something. I think we have a historical record of people believing that there were people who witnessed a resurrection.
No, but Jesus appeared to the original kind of his.
We don't have
apostles.
4,000. We don't have 4,000 people writing, I saw Jesus. You know what I mean?
Well, but they were being persecuted because they said they saw the God rising up from the dead, and so the fact that they were persecuted because they said they saw it, that seems again to be evidence.
How many sources say that?
I will have to check back on that.
I don't have the numbers either.
Right, I don't have the numbers, but it's not just about the quantity of sources. It's also about, if you have a Roman source that says, governor of so-and-so killed so many people, sentenced so many people to death because they said they saw blah, blah, blah. That's a pretty reliable source, even if it's just only one source, right?
Right, I think it's also not historically unique.
Right.
You could say the same thing about Judaism, same thing about Islam.
This is true.
Right.
I have a huge long thesis I can say on this one.
I'll give my short piece first, then you can give your thesis. Yeah, I think respectfully, I think there's people believe what people believe, and you're not always going to agree with it. In fact, very rarely are you going to agree with anyone on 100% of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think unless someone's religion is actively harming you, which it can do, very often happens. But barring that circumstance, I think it makes sense to treat people respectfully, hear them out, because just because it's not something that you believe or something that you know to be true doesn't mean it's not valuable.
Right. I think for me that is even being able to speak is hard, and for a lot of people, and so I think that would be step one is to get your foot through the door. That's difficult, but then once you have your foot through the door, I would say that I want people to be respectful of all sides, to not coerce them. I think Jesus is very clear that don't coerce people, let them choose. There's a kind of free will component to it of believe because you believe and God calls you, right? And not because we are coercing you to do it. But that can be a miraculous process where people grow and people seek, and then they come to the faith because they want to come to the faith, and that's a beautiful thing to see. So We're besties.
Oh yeah, love Louis.
Folks,
He's the best.
besties.
Yeah. Yeah, you can disagree with what people say and what people think and still be friends.
Oh yeah.